Hi, I'm Inflammable, and welcome to chapter 2 of my fanfiction, Deeper Water, the Lifeguard. Um, so, I will share some photos in this video of what our lifeguards look like, but I did struggle to find ones of Craig's caliber. So I thought it would be really fun that I'll share what I found. But if you find a better Craig, please drop it in the comments because I'd really love to see. I have a certain vision in my mind, of course. Anyway, I started leaving summaries in this fic, and here's a great lie that I like to tell. I don't anticipate it to be a long fic. What a joke. Anyway, let's get into it. A month had passed, which I rarely do in my fics, but here I am on chapter 2 doing a time skip. A month of planning and packing. A month of Tweek riding the roller coaster of emotions, fluctuating between all in for doing this and being dead set against it and close to backing out. But between Kenny and his family, reassurance was offered, and Tweek met the reality that this was happening. The day had now arrived, and Tweek and Kenny were really doing this. They had just boarded their flight with a group of 12 other delegates from the university. Kenny let Tweek take the window seat and promised to keep Tweek comfortable and caffeinated throughout the entire trip. They had a stopover in San Francisco, and then they would fly overnight. Tweek knew he would be a nervous flyer. He tried to keep himself entertained watching movies or listening to music, even having several naps on a small travel pillow on Kenny's shoulder. That's a bit cute. When Tweek woke up from his third sleep, Kenny fluffed Tweek's hair and grinned. "We only have an hour left, man. Hey, we should get changed once we get land and get our baggage. The change in Colorado winter temperature to Australian summer is going to be a bitch. It's also supposed to be humid as fuck today. And sunscreen, Kenny. Sunburn, sun cancer. Gah! Yeah, we can sort that out too. I still don't think that you needed to pack a jumbo size and a travel size in your bag. You can just buy it here. A travel size won't last long. It will hardly last one application each. Kenny, you are taking this seriously." A side note, a lot of us Australians don't take it seriously. Well, we do, but I think it's just, it washes off, 2 hours passes in no time, and next minute you're burnt. Moving on. Kenny laughed and shoved Tweek's shoulder. "I want a tan, dude." Tweek shoved him back. "There's nothing healthy about a tan. And I don't tan, I burn. Look how white I am." "All right, Casper. Well, let's worry about it later, eh?" At last, the plane touched down and they slowly taxied into the airport. Tweek was tired and irritable. Kenny, who had barely slept, appeared to be running on adrenaline. He was jumping in his seat, and the moment they were allowed to disembark, he was upright and throwing lollies all around the cabin. This was well received until a rather large-looking sherbet hit the side of one of the professor's heads. Luggage was claimed and a head count was conducted, and then they headed for the exit doors to board the shuttle bus. The moment the humid heat hit the group, there were groans and audible complaints, but no one was more vocal than Tweek. "Sweet Jesus! Gah, Kenny, feels like my skin is melting off. If I don't die melting on the sidewalk, I'm going to kill you later for this." "Tweek, deep breaths, dude. How is that going to help?" "Oh, for heaven's sake, move over," came a bossy voice. Guess who? A girl with jet black hair pinned into a perfect bun and a fringe that looked like it has just been cut with such precision that she had used a slide rule pushed Kenny aside, her dark brown eyes narrowed in annoyance. She huffed and fished around her purple carry bag for a small yellow spray bottle, then aimed it at Tweek and started pumping it furiously at his face and shoulders. Gah! A couple of the people nearby stepped back and watched the interaction with mild curiosity while fanning themselves with their hands or wiping their sweaty foreheads. The girl ceased spraying Tweek after 12 precise pumps, then shoved the bottle in her bag and stood on hands on hips, smirking. What the fuck was that? Kenny roared out, wearing an expression of curiosity mixed with concern. Miracle Mist. It will help cool the skin temporarily while we adjust to the heat and humidity, the girl explained matter-of-factly. She's kind of giving me Hermione vibes, but anyway. And you are Wendy, she responded, a wary expression on her face as she eyed him up and down and took a step back from him. She clearly isn't a stupid girl, Tweek thought privately. Right. Well, maybe don't freak my friend out and start spraying him in public with some unknown substance. Ask first. Hey, I was going to be listening to him complain like that the entire way to the accommodation. We are all tired. We are all a bit cranky. I was just trying to help. Thank you, Tweek cut across the fighting pan meekly. It sure did feel nice on his skin. Wendy paused her interaction with Kenny and shot Tweek a look of indifference. You're welcome. I suggest you pick something up like this at the local chemist here or something. It will take weeks to adjust to the humidity, you know. Colorado's summers are quite pleasant in comparison to Queensland. We aren't used to such high humidity. Stay hydrated, don't overexert yourself, and stay in the shade. You're talking to a dude who's packed a month's worth of sunscreen, several sun-safe shirts, and who can recite every fun fact about the sun, safety, and skin cancer. He's good, Kenny joked. He extended a hand to Wendy. I'm Kenny. This is Tweek. Wendy gave Kenny's hand a withering look but shook it very quickly. Right. You must be freshmen. I haven't seen either of you around. Well, if you stay out of my way, I will stay out of yours. Don't be a stranger, Kenny smirked. Wendy just huffed at him, opened and closed her mouth, then stormed off to the other side of the group. She seems nice, Kenny said sarcastically. They arrived at the accommodation almost an hour later. The group stopped for lunch, and then they were shown their respective rooms. Kenny and Tweek already knew their roommates and gratefully accepted the key to apartment 2B. The apartment was lovely in Tweek's opinion. The floors in the main living area were whitewashed wood with birchwood furniture. The living area opened to a small balcony with black railings and a small white table and chair setting. The view was of palm trees and the neighbouring street. There was a soft cream sofa in front of a TV and stand, a bookshelf, and a red rug under a coffee table. The kitchen was roomy and had everything they needed. There were 2 bedrooms, one to the left of the living area and one to the right across from the toilet and bathroom. Tweek, look, there's a bathtub. But bathtub? Tweek rushed to the bathroom and grinned ear to ear. I would too. Dude, this is epic. Hey, since I dragged you on this ride, you can take the main bedroom, all right? I will take the one just here. Tweek nodded, thoroughly happy with having his own bedroom and with having a buffer zone from Kenny's shenanigans. They were given the afternoon to unpack and recover. Tweek and Kenny crashed from jet lag. Thankfully, the following day was Sunday, which they continued to become accustomed to the time difference and to get comfortable. On Sunday afternoon, Kenny and Tweek wandered to the beach together. Kenny was dressed in a daggy grey singlet, board shorts and flip-flops, which are called thongs here, and Tweek in a wide-brimmed straw hat, long-sleeved sun-safe white shirt, shorts and aqua shoes. I can walk to work from here, Tweek wondered out loud. If I take the beach walk around the hill, it leads to the science centre. We could do it together. Your meet-up point is only a quarter of a mile further on. Fuck that. I'm not sacrificing precious sleep. I'm getting the bus, dude. Kenny looked at Tweek like he was suggesting the impossible. But it would be nice, Maybe I will leave early, walk this way to work on the beach, get a proper coffee and relax, then go and start work for the day. Tweek smiled at the prospect. The ocean really was beautiful, and he has rarely seen it in his 18 years of life. When they walked around the pebbled path towards the beach, the fresh smell of salt air hit their nostrils. Tweek thought it smelled earthy and could also smell sunscreen and pine trees. He gazed in awe at the fresh green vegetation growing along the esplanade. When they both arrived at the wooden fence and stairway leading down to the sand, they both cried in amazement. The ocean was gorgeous. To Tweek, its sight was a definition of calm and tranquility. Beautiful turquoise mixed with deep hues of blue and green. What does that remind you of? The sun catching the waves and making it sparkle like thousands of small diamonds. There was barely a cloud in the sky. The sun shone lazily above them. The sand was a powdery, eye-watering... Sorry, my kids have spilt noodles all over the floor. Dustpan, please. I'll do it in a minute. Just go get the dustpan, please. Thank you. All right, that's fun for me later. Where was I up to? Here. The beach was busy. Many people, young and old, enjoying themselves on the shore by collecting shells, playing in the water, and building sandcastles. Tweek saw many people on towels under umbrellas and shades, reading books or sunbathing. The sand was hot, so they kept their shoes on and walked down to the shore. They could see red and yellow flags about 100 meters to their left, while many more people were congregating and swimming. See, if I walk past the swimming area and round the headland, Tweek pointed out and said loudly as a breeze blew past them, and loud sounds of waves crashed in the background. Kenny scoffed. That's going to take you ages, man, but suit yourself. It's relaxing. It's exercise. It won't be anywhere near as hot that early in the morning. And I can collect shells. You're collecting shells? Yeah, Tweek cried out like it was blatantly obvious. He loved shells, but then again, living in Colorado, he had mostly seen them in pictures. Kenny shrugged. Each to their own. You'll see way more interesting stuff than that in your time here, dude. Kenny then insisted that they head to the red and yellow flags so he could check out the local wildlife. Classic Kenny. Tweek had rolled his eyes so hard that he felt like Kenny could hear him and focused more on taking in the sight of the ocean, while standing several meters from the shoreline, of course. They both decided to turn in early that night, residual jet lag still causing them to feel fatigued. Tweek was nervous about his first day of orientation and was having panics about small things like not being able to find the lab or forgetting to pack something. Once he had checked his bag 5 times, he set an alarm for 6 and blacked out the moment his head hit the pillow. Here's the exciting part. 6 a.m. felt like it arrived in a blink of an eye. Tweek got up and stretched and took in the early morning light. He still felt hot and humid, and the air felt still. He took a quick shower and spent time reaching any part of his skin he could with sunscreen. He was required to wear a uniform and likely laboratory gear that would be provided on the first day. He dressed in a green singlet that covered his shoulders and some black board shorts, then put on his aqua shoes. He had a quick breakfast and an instant coffee, knowing he just needs this coffee to wake him up, and that the moment he completes his walk, he can buy what he considers a real coffee. Quite the incentive. He could hear Kenny snoring loudly from the other bedroom when he set off at almost 6:45 a.m. It made him nervous venturing out on his own in a foreign country for the first time. What if he gets lost? What if he gets abducted? What if a big wave comes and pulls him out to sea? Oh, could you imagine panicking over that? He tried to shake the thoughts off as he reached the ocean. It was visually the sight of it certainly helped to ease his mind. So peaceful. It was like looking at a giant mirror. The rising sun cast a soft golden reflection on the calm surface. Gentle waves lapped at the shore, seagulls wandered along and almost abandoned shore. Tweek could see shells on the shoreline and a few stray people walking around. Some older couples were enjoying a morning walk, and a couple of people in spandex gym wear going for a morning jog or run. He smiled, took his shoes off, and shoved them into his backpack. It can't be that scary, he thought bravely. The sand was cool and damp under his feet as he approached the shoreline. He hesitated and observed the water coming in and out a few times with each set of waves. He examined the white sea foam that threatened to reach his feet. Then he saw the shells and his eyes lit up. Many broken pieces of cone shells, scallops, sand snails, clams, and conchs, as well as a few that were intact. He also saw the other shells he didn't recognize. He pulled out a Clip-Lock bag and collected a few of the shells that interested him, even letting the water run under his feet as he bagged them. At least there are very few people around to think that he is a nutcase, he thought to himself. He headed towards the red and yellow flagged area, stopping occasionally for a shell. The flagged area was deserted except for one man. Ooh, Okay, I'm going to stop here and just show you. This is what it is, okay? So, red and yellow flag. Hang on, let me find a better picture. Maybe like that. Oh, that's blurry. I promise I'm prepared. Look, it's not as busy as that, but, that's the lifeguard get-up where I live. The bright yellow long shirt, the red shorts, the hat. Anyway, that's where Tweek is, but it's early in the morning. Oh, here we go. That's kind of like early morning beach vibes. All right, back we go. That's when he saw him. Tweek slowed his walking and held his breath at the sight. A young man who couldn't be much older than Tweek was moving a rescue board out from under the lifeguard tower towards the shoreline. Okay, pause for a sec. Board and lifeguard tower. That's exactly what they look like where I live. And that's the esplanade, with like the green I mentioned earlier with the green vegetation and stuff. It's kind of like trimmed back. Like usually it's crazy wild and there's lots of vines and flowers and things. But that's what it looks like. Cool. What was he doing? Hang on. He wore a fitted, long-sleeved red and yellow shirt with large bold letters that stated Lifeguard on it. Tweek could tell this shirt was hiding toned abs and biceps. Oh, delicious. He wore short red swim trunks. Much shorter than those and much hotter than them. Which showed he was all leg and revealed tan skin and dark hairs. He walked barefoot. Tweek observed his feet were far larger than his own but were slender. He had large hands and long fingers, and from his height, Tweek felt that he would tower above him, at least 6'4". I'm going to say 6'5" because I like a tall Craig. He had a chiseled jaw and a straight nose, thick, even, dark eyebrows that rested above his eyes that Tweek could not determine the colour of. But if he was to hazard a guess, they would be close to the colour of the ocean. He wasn't wearing a hat. His charcoal black hair was longer and blew lazily around his face and ears. His fringe was almost in his eyes. He was the definition of handsome, in Tweek's opinion. Tweek swallowed and bit his lip. He picked up his pace and walked faster, hoping not to do anything stupid. Act natural, he told himself. As he passed the lifeguard, he noticed him place a life raft down and then gaze at Tweek. Fuck, Tweek thought. He must have been too obvious. They caught each other's gaze momentarily. Gah! Tweek internally panicked. He paid no attention to the fact that it was now ankle deep in the shoreline and concentrated on walking forward, trying not to look stupid in the extra effort it took him to lift his feet out of the sinking wet sand with each step, trying not to step on anything sharp, overly focused on his posture and how he was holding his arms. Why is this costing him a great effort? It's just walking. Once he cleared a few meters in front of the men, he let his body relax. He did it. Phew. He chanced to look behind him and noticed that the lifeguard was still watching him. Gah! Eyes forward once more, he resisted any further looks. Quite sure that he had embarrassed himself thoroughly, Tweek let out a sigh of frustration. The guy probably thought that he looked really out of his element. Maybe he saw him earlier, avoiding getting his feet wet and collecting shells. Maybe he thought he looked like an absolute dork. Maybe on top of this, he had caught Tweek eyeing him up and down. Well, that isn't a crime. Surely he's used to it. Look at him. He knows he is hot. Tweek thought to himself, eager to ease his worried mind. Whatever it was going to make tomorrow's walk and every other morning walk where the lifeguard is present interesting. Well, oh, lucky Tweek. Look, these are the lifeguard men I found, and in Australia there's this whole thing or a show, and it's probably popular around the world, and it's Bondi Beach, so it's set in Sydney, so that's where the Bondi Beach is. That's where we had the tragedy last year. And very popular beach, very, very touristy. These are the sort of men that sort of, come to mind. So I think they're from the show. But, obviously Craig would be tan like this, but he'd be hotter than them, I reckon. There was one I found where they're all facing the water in the get-up, but I can't find them now. Why do they escape me? Might be here. Sorry, I'm wasting your time, aren't I? Look, I don't think many of these are that hot. Like, some of these dudes are blurred for a start. Some of them are, female. I can't find what I'm looking for. But, none of these are really screaming Craig to me. I mean, he's a bit of all right. I mean, I'd go there. Yeah. But anyway, if you find anything better than what I have on Google Images, please pop them in the comments and be like, Craig, this is Craig. Because I just imagine him much hotter than what we've seen today. Cool. So I hope you enjoyed. And see you for the next video. Signing off.